Welcome to Fan4Racing Radio. I'm Fan4Racing Sharon, and joining me tonight is Jay Huseman, and we are here for the 2026 retirement and short tracks for our episode number 2523 of Hot Topic Sound Off. So, Jay, let's go ahead and start with our first hot topic, which is how is the racing at Richmond and Springfield for the ARCA Menards Series, Richmond for the Cup and Truck Series.
Well, I tell you what, I enjoyed it. I think you got what you wanted out of it as far as the weekend from both series. As far as Richmond for the the Trucks and Cup Series. I know in the Cup Series side, the tire was a big thing going in, that they went with what was last year's option tire compound. They put that on one side. I want to say the right side, but I might be mistaken. I thought that went really well. I know there were teams, a lot of lobbying before the race of, well, we need more tires then. I like that they didn't give in and I'm trying to remember which broadcaster talked about it, of it puts it back in the drivers and crews' hands of tire management. Manage your tires on the track. Crew chief's got to be a little more selective about when they bring them into pit, just because you want tires after 3 laps or 5 laps. They talk about Darlington, if it's been half a lap, you want new tires. Well, you can't have them. So I was glad to see there wasn't an issue. There wasn't a safety issue. I understand there's that concern, but there wasn't that issue. It was just a matter of, well, we got to race a little different. So I was glad to see they didn't give them another set. On the Truck Series, again, the racing I thought was good. I don't think the fastest and my favorite driver won as far as Ty Majeski. Again, incidences happen. Corey Heim wins. I'll tell you what, though, he's lost more than he's won in that aspect, so you can't fault him. You know what I'm saying? Of that. He's probably still owed about 4 or 5, honestly. I hate it for Ty Majeski. I know he was looking for it, and I think had the truck to the dominant truck, if you will. So, but that's what happens. On the Cup side, reference Austin Dillon getting the victory. I got to say, again, I thought he should have it taken away last year. They did. This year, redemption, and he earned it. Again, especially, and I actually have it on right now as we're speaking, they mentioned the fact that with the tire compound change, it's not like you could have the exact same setup or run the same way, because there were differences as far as the tire compound. So to come back and have that stronger car again, again, some of the top contenders had some issues. I think that was a huge thing throughout the field. But again, that's part of it. And he was there to capitalize, and he did so. So good on him. For the ARCA Springfield race, I hate to say it, but it was kind of like watching a road course that SVG is in. The guy that you expect to win did. What more can you say? The dirt track guy won the dirt race.
Yes, indeed. It was kind of fun watching them race on dirt, though.
Oh, yeah. Again, still enjoy it. But, yeah, that's one of those of, well, the favorite one. So, some people might call it a boring race. Again, that happens. I mean.
Yes, indeed. And I would have to agree with you. And I was very happy that the tires seemed to work out very, very well. I heard very positive comments about it. I don't think too many people were unhappy about that. I was glad to see Team Penske have a good run. They had 3 cars up in the top 5, which is not typical of that organization at Richmond Raceway. So it was good to see them have such a strong showing. And then as far as the race winner, I thought it was good that Austin Dillon was able to get some redemption and go out and win that race. I did hear some people kind of complaining that the win somebody else from below the cut line who's down on the list has won the race, and now they get to race for a championship. Some people are not liking that aspect of, and I think we have that on our list today, and we'll talk about that. But I have no issues with it, honestly. I think it's doing what it was intended to do. And I think a lot of the people, I wonder sometimes if the people that are complaining are people who were not around before we had the playoffs, because people didn't like it when we didn't have the playoffs and was just going by the points. There were a lot of complaints about that. And when NASCAR came up with something new and different, it's just like everything else that they do. There are those who like it and those who don't. So I don't think it's any different than any other kind of thing. And I know we'll talk a little more in depth on that. But the race itself, I thought, was really, really good. There was plenty of passing throughout the field. I didn't see anybody having any troubles passing for the lead. Austin Dillon actually came from behind and raced his way up. Well, he wasn't too far behind. He did have a good qualifying run. But he was able to race up there, and with the different tire strategies that were at play, because people did have more options of how they wanted that to play out. I thought it was an interesting race, and I like those kind of races. So to me, I thought it was a good short track race, and probably one of the best Richmond races that we've seen in a while. With the Truck Series, yeah, same thing that you said about the dirt track race. The guy who was kind of expected to win did win. He didn't win outright, though. Ty Majeski did challenge him and gave a good challenge up until he had the run-in with Matt Crafton. And then that kind of changed things up a little bit. That opened the door for Corey Heim. Now, Corey Heim is making history in this series. At 18 years of age, he's the youngest driver to ever win a total of 18 races at this stage in his life. No other driver has ever done that before. So we are watching history in the making with Corey Heim. He had 7 wins on the season, more than any other driver. And I really have enjoyed watching him in that series. And he has it. There's, like you said, several races that he probably should have won, and for one reason or another didn't. So the fact that he has 7, in spite of that, I think really bodes pretty well for him to go on and win the championship. But again, the way these playoffs are set up, a lot of things can still happen between now and when we get to Phoenix, when the championship race happens. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But Corey Heim has been a strong competitor throughout the season. With the dirt race, I did watch the dirt race. And you're right. We knew it was probably going to be Brent Cruz. He's a dirt track racer. He was expected to do well. He did do well. He raced right up to the front and kept that lead and dominated pretty much the race. But again, I enjoyed watching the ARCA Menards series on the dirt. He has won at DuQuoin before too, so I would expect that he's probably going to win again this season at DuQuoin. But I enjoyed watching them race. What was interesting about his win, though, is that last time he won, I think it was with Joe Gibbs Racing. This time when he's winning with Nitro Motorsports. So that's a different team and a new team coming into the ARCA Menards series, and they're working in collaboration with Venturini Motorsports this season, but will be taking over the organization in the 2026 season. So I thought it was really good to see Nitro Motorsports get that dirt track win as a new team in the series. So I guess that's about all I've got to say about it. I thought the tires worked. I think it bodes well for future short track racing, and I'm happy. I think that NASCAR's worked really long and hard to make that happen and finally get a package that seems to work for everybody, and it certainly did at Richmond this weekend.
Yeah, you hit on a couple of things. I know we said we'd kind of tie in here the cry for the change to the championship, the playoffs and the championship. I found the root of that. I don't know if you know this or not, but I found the reason everybody's clamoring for that, because that's what Chase Elliott wants, and he's NASCAR's most popular driver. I read something on that. I didn't know that. I understand Chase Elliott's point. He said if you look at, obviously at this point only referring to the regular season, it's been a battle until the end of the regular season. So why wouldn't that continue if you were to let it run the full season? I'm not saying I fully buy that, but he's got a point that the regular season, nobody has walked away with that in the past couple of years. I am still in favor of a playoff format. I know we talked about this. I am in favor of just a little bit of tweaking or changing to, again, not make it all for one in one race. I think maybe a 3-race for that championship 4. I was okay with the 10-race chase. If you go back to looking at that, okay, everybody into the playoffs. Now you reset and you run for those 10 races. I was okay with that, and we saw that can work because we saw it come down to an actual tie after 10 races, even with Tony Stewart winning 5 of those 10 races. But again, that was 1 year out of, I think it was less than 10 when that format. Normally it got a little stretched out if somebody had good runs. So again, there's always that, you got this argument and that argument. You go back to, again, of Matt Kenseth creating the playoff or a change to begin with. Fans said, well, he didn't win. Well, and that's what brought it about. But now you're saying, oh, a guy won, but he shouldn't be in the playoffs. Well, again, that's like you said, maybe you don't really recall how it was and what you want. You know how I feel about that as far as fans being fickle. I'll use that word. So I do anticipate, again, maybe a little bit of changes. I call them tweaks, if you will, and modifications. And from the ones I've heard suggested, for the most part, I'm okay with them. Doing away with the playoffs. And again, this isn't just about the teams in the championship. It's about that excitement level, the TV broadcast and the ratings it brings in. For the final races. And again, I go back to, you're right, I wasn't thrilled. I was a Jeff Gordon fan. Dale Earnhardt before that, they're basically champion about 5-6 races out. All they got to do is not finish 30th, for the next 6 weeks. And once they get another good finish, then they don't have to finish 35th or whatever for the next 5 weeks. That's not interesting to watch week in and week out. I think one of Jeff Gordon's championships, was actually official 3 races to the end of the season. Yeah, what's the point of those final 3 races then? So I'm okay. I like it the way it is. Trying to think what else you mentioned there. You made the Austin Dillon again, the redemption. I fully agree with that. Like I said, I think that's great. He earned this one. I wasn't happy to see him at the time when he got the win get in that way last year. The one thing I look at too of, okay, him and let's say SVG, well, what are they going to do? They're going to get knocked out in that first round. And nothing against Chris Buescher or Ryan Preece, but if they haven't won a race, they get in on points. What are they going to do? And I'm not going to go back and spend my time doing it, but if you were to look at that in the years past where somebody outside the cut line got in based on that win, who would have gotten in instead of that driver with the win, and what would they have done? I feel like the odds are going to say they'd have been knocked out in the first round too. It's your guys that are winning week in and week out, or top 5 week in and week out, that are getting to the championship 4. Ryan Blaney, I think he was in the top 16 in points, but yeah, definitely went on a run. We saw it with Joey Logano. Technically should have been eliminated, although it was in the second round, the round of 8. But he's a top-tier driver. He was already a 2-time champion. That just gave him his 3rd. So we know those drivers are. I don't think you're gaining or losing anything, because when it comes down to the final 8 and that championship 4, the cream rises to the top. And those guys clearly have not been, not to say they're not capable or can be close, but they're not there yet, especially on the year for this year. So I don't see the screaming to say, oh, Chris Buescher or Ryan Preece, being those are the 2 that were on the bubble, should be in, and not Austin Dillon and SVG, because I think you're going to have the same result. They're going to be out in the first round anyway.
Yeah, I know a lot of fans feel pretty strongly. I also heard Jeb Burton talking about it, and he was in favor of the old point system. His thoughts were that it seems to him that it's harder for a team like his team, a smaller team, to get into the championship. And I kind of disagree with that, because I think about Harrison Burton last year winning at Daytona and getting into the championship. So it makes it easier for other teams to get into the championship hunt. And I just think I think everybody benefits from the playoffs the way it is. And the little tweaks that NASCAR has made along the way, I think have been positive tweaks. I call it the Jimmy Johnson rule. The fact that we have stages is because of Jimmy Johnson. Right. Jimmy Johnson used to hang around the back and not really race. And I always felt bad for fans, because they didn't really see him race for a good part of the race. He didn't show up until the very end. And so they came up with the stages to encourage drivers to be racing for those points throughout the race. And I think we needed that. There's, and NASCAR, I think, has done a good job of keeping their finger on the pulse. And sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, if you will. And I think that's what fans are kind of counting on. But be careful what you ask for, because there's a reason why we have the playoff system that we currently have. There was a squeaky wheel before the playoffs that something needed to change, because you did have those runaway drivers that were winning the championship. The one thing that I will say about Jimmy Johnson is he won championships under a lot of different formats. So it didn't matter what the format was to him. He went out there and his team, they knew what the rules were, and they went about their business of playing by the rules for the most part, and going after those championships. So I do think, again, people have forgotten what it was like when we just had the points. We used to have people, we knew who the champion was very early in the fall part of the season. We knew who the champion was going to be. So what point was there in watching the rest of the season? You knew who was going to win the championship, unless it wasn't your driver and you wanted to see where your driver was going to end up. But you knew they weren't going to win the championship because it was already secured.
I know when that argument gets brought up, I've heard it a couple of times on Sirius XM. They bring up the Alan Kowicki, Bill Elliott, and Davey Allison. It's like, okay, that was one time. How many times was it that even an option, or specifically that close? Not many. You're trying to make your argument based out of 1 out of 10, 20, 30 years. Yeah, that ain't going to cut it. I'm sorry. But that one was good, no doubt about it. Again, maybe behind the Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, one of the greatest points battles in history. but that was one time.
And that was under the chase format, wasn't it?
No, that was still under the year. The difference at that time was because remember it had to do with leading the most laps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Alan Kawicki had made sure he led laps to get him that extra 5 bonus points for leading the most laps. And then that's actually what gave him the edge when it came down to it. Yeah.
I was thinking
so
of the
again,
Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards battle.
Yeah, the Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards was under the chase format, the 10 races. And there again, Tony had to win 5 of them to end up in a tie, which the 5 wins is what gave him the edge, you know. But yeah, anything like that of again, all the drivers know it going in. They're all racing under the same, you know, format and same opportunity to win, whether it be a road course or not. You know, that's the way it is.
Okay, we kind of switched topics here in the middle of the. Okay, so if you look at the private chat, Jay,
yep,
we've got all the topics in there. Do you have any more thoughts about the racing at Richmond or Springfield?
Oh, you did list that one separate.
Yes.
As far as it shaking up the playoffs. Okay. Yeah, we can go to the next one is Austin Dillon's victory shaking up the playoffs. So we kind of covered that and the change. The other part to that I read an article and I hadn't seen Austin's post-race interview, but I got the gist of it. Made some comments of him and RCR or Richard Childress, grandpa, not seeing eye to eye necessarily. And it really brought about a thought to my mind of maybe I've been a little too judgmental. Trying to think how he worded it now. Essentially kind of Richard Childress was stuck in the past and didn't want to adapt to some changes and new things and move forward. When we look at and say, maybe Austin Dillon doesn't have the talent we thought he should or whatever, maybe we've been a little, and I say maybe I've been a little too harsh on him, that it really is on the organization side that's where the problem's been, especially when you look at, you know, and this was very public of he's the one that wanted Kyle Busch brought in, you know. So again, maybe shouldn't be as hard on him as I have been in the past.
Yeah, I agree. He did say that in his post-race interview in the media that him and his grandpa don't always agree, and they've had to have some very tough conversations with one another. And you know, of course, he still loves his grandpa and still wants the organization to do as well as possible. But I think about Roush Fenway Racing before Keselowski came over. I think the same thing was happening there. Organizationally, there was a systemic issue that was impeding the progress of that team for all of the drivers. And I think the same thing is happening over at Richard Childress Racing. And I can appreciate it. I can understand it. But I think Austin brings up a really important point that there are new ways of thinking about things. And sometimes it is hard to have that conversation with someone to encourage them to move forward into the way people are looking at things now and how it can improve the organization instead of making it worse. Whereas if they'd done those same things, you know, back in the day, so to say, it might not have been the best idea, but now it is. So I think it's worth listening, and I can appreciate where Austin Dillon's coming from. Is it a family feud? I don't know how intense those conversations get. I'd like to think it's not really a feud, so to say. Tough conversations is probably the best way to put it, because people can be kind of stuck on their way of thinking. So I can appreciate where he's coming from, but I do think if they do want to move forward, and I would think one of the reasons why Austin Dillon wanted Kyle Busch in that organization is because he was winning so many races and he knew how to make it happen. The difference, though, is that he was racing with Toyota before and had been racing with Toyota for so many years. And now they're racing with Chevrolet. So there's some differences there, too. So Chevrolet is actually on the winning side of things right now. So there's really no reason why they shouldn't be having the best years of their organization. So you're right. Maybe we've been a little too hard on Austin and maybe need to give him a little bit of a break. But I am happy that he got that redemption this week. He did it the right way. He wasn't the one-man wrecking crew and feeling that he had to do it in order to get into the championship contention. So he did it. He demonstrated that he had the skill to do it, and he did it. And I like that.
You know, with going back a couple of things, and I'm not trying to you know, as we always say, sometimes the media makes more out of it than it is. But I think, too, of Ty Dillon's decision to not continue within the RCR, you know, went out his own at that time with Germain Racing. Although it had a partnership, it wasn't directly working under RCR. And also then even going back to Kevin Harvick, you know, opting to leave RCR because it had stalled and they just weren't moving forward. So I think there, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire in this case of that. Now, in that case, I know at the time, and I don't know if he'd still stand by that, but Kevin Harvick said that Austin Dillon had the silver spoon, and that was part of it. But like I said, from what we've seen of Austin Dillon, and also taking the reins, literally, of the bull riding that they're involved in of team management, I think maybe we ought to give him the opportunity. So. Yeah, you know, their history was on Dale Earnhardt, but you can't run things his way anymore. He's not even here. And the sport is clearly different. So might be something for Richard Childress to look at and listen to.
Yes, indeed. We'll see how that continues to play out. Unless there's something more that you wanted to say there.
No, that was pretty much it on that. Again, we'll have to see how it goes, and you know, with Austin Dillon getting the win, you know, that kind of gives him a little more weight in his pocket, if you will.
Yes, it does. And Richmond is clearly a track that he does well at, and that was on 2 different tire compounds.
Yep.
So he has figured out something at that track. So kudos to him for doing so well at Richmond. Let's go ahead and move on to the 2026 schedule. Word is out that that's expected to come out sometime this week. Some of the changes that they're talking about, we already know that San Diego is going to replace the Chicago Street Race. They've been talking about bringing back Chicagoland Speedway. Yay! That's my home track. And also Dover hosting an all-star race has been one of the speculations, and that would happen in May. North Wilkesboro might be a points-paying race. So that's one of the changes. Also, Homestead being the finale. The championship race at Homestead has already been announced, so we already know that that's happening. They said with all of the things that the changes that they talked about here, that one of the races might be gone. And according to Bob Pockris, he said he thinks that is probably going to be Loudon.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that one.
Yeah, and taken off the schedule.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're talking about adding Chicagoland, which has been rumored, and kind of heavily, you know, that it does have to then remove one. Jordan Bianchi, I did see where he pretty much promised that Iowa was going to be on the schedule with the Cup race, that was one that was possibly going away. He sounded fairly certain, putting his reputation on the line and making that promise. So yeah, I hadn't seen the one about Loudon, New Hampshire. You know, I mean, that's tough. Again, I am personally one that I think there are some tracks that have 2 races that should be looked at before taking away. And I like Loudon. And again, I hope maybe it is that we talk about that 3 to 4 year deal of certain things that, again, Road America eventually comes back. But that with that, like you said, for one to come in, somebody's got to go out. No, the one I saw and was causing the biggest stir, and I didn't realize that was of that close of it could be next year with this schedule release, the All-Star race at Dover. Again, when the All-Star race was first brought out, that was the intent, was that it was to move. You know, it went from Charlotte to Atlanta for 1 year, then back to Charlotte, and it stayed there for 2 decades, I think. Yeah, a long time. So I've always been in favor of that, of take it to some of these, especially if, per se, then your points race, or, you know, of, say, Loudon, it doesn't get a points race, they'll take the All-Star race up there then for that year, or, you know, time period that they're not on the schedule. So I'm okay with that. I don't care what track you pick, it's an all-star race. They're going to do something to put on a show, you know, and again, some fans aren't in favor of that, call it the gimmicks or whatever. It's an all-star race. You know, I mean, that's part of it, of just absolutely put on a show. You know,
that's
now am I looking
an exhibition race?
Right, exactly. You know, and I know when you get into this discussion on with Dave Moody, and people call in, it's okay, we're not going to run them backwards for half the race, or in the opposite direction for half the race. Okay, that's gimmicky, or a figure 8 or whatever else. Although if they're going to do that, the All-Star race is the time to do it, you know. I mean, honestly. I'm a big component of, and Moody said he's been campaigning for years on this, so apparently my voice isn't going to matter if can't get Dave Moody, you to listen to Dave Moody, but of say 10 drivers from the Cup Series, 10 from the top 10 in points from the Cup, top 10 in points from the Xfinity, top 10 from the trucks, put them all on the track. Again, that you would have to very specifically have the right track. But yeah, do like they do for the WeatherTech All Series at Daytona. Have all 3. You got top in class, and then an overall winner. I think that at least try it and see how it works out. But again, we're in the day and age where anything's possible. We might see it. That's still my hope. But as far as Dover, again, I think that's a good track, especially if you're talking about it being the All-Stars. That's the top guys, right? There's a reason for it, so I think it'd be a good show. I really do. And then again, depending on how they want to do the race strategies, or, you know, the gimmick things they do of different things, I'm okay with that. There again, we're talking about that for this past year of the promoter's caution. You know, I was okay with it. I know. Do I want to see it during a weekly? No, absolutely not. Ever, never, ever. You know, but for an all-star race, why not? You know, everybody's like, why would you do that? Why not? You know, I mean.
Yeah, it's called an exhibition race for a reason. It is strictly not about points. It's not about anything except having fun and encouraging everybody to go all out to win the race. And let's see, they pay out $1 million for this one.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and they're going after that $1 million. I remember $1 Million Bill.
Yep.
Bill Elliott. That's what they used to call him, because he was very good at winning the All-Star race and going after that $1 million. So it takes the points completely out of it, and they're out there racing for that $1 million. No matter what the format is, everybody has the same rules again. And so it's up to you and your team to figure out what's the best way to go after that. And I get it. A lot of times, the most, how is it I want to say this? I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but I just think that we're talking about Dover now. But I think Dover is a good choice. They call it the Monster Mile, and I think they can have a lot of fun with that. The Monster Million.
There you go.
Yeah, I just think that you got to take it for what it is. It's a fun, entertaining race. And when they do whatever they do, it's meant to entertain us as fans and encourage the drivers to have a little bit of fun with it too. So don't spoil it by complaining.
Right. Yeah, right.
It's a little bit different. It's intended to be fun. Just sit back and relax and enjoy the race for what it is, an exhibition, fun, entertainment for everybody. So we'll see what happens. I think Dover's a good choice. May is a good time of year to do that race at the Monster Mile.
You know, that's one, and I know Denny Hamlin was one that kind of shot it down as far as then the teams, the money they'd spend, but that was a spot where I was okay with what I call the outlaw racing. Run what you brung. You know, let them, and I'm sure you got to have some rules, but I mean, for the most part, open up the rule book. I mean, let them do what they want to do or think they can do or try and whatnot. You know, I see both sides to it, but I know that was a discussion of they were going to this year as far as the horsepower, because that was when they were all screaming for horsepower. But by all means, again, an all-star race, yeah, let them open it up. You know, I get it. You know, again, the teams that have the money are going to spend the money on, you know, the engine, the horsepower, and some other teams may not be able to then. So I understand where NASCAR's hesitant with that. And Denny Hamlin was saying, again, it's not worth it for a one race, one off. He was really campaigning for give it to us permanently. But when we look at some of these things too, though, if in that one race something works that we've seen NASCAR do before, hey, we're going to try this in the All-Star race. Mm-hmm. It worked well. We want to implement it into regular racing. That's your opportunity. So if you're saying, hey, horsepower is the key to being able to pass and put on good side-by-side racing, I think you should have jumped on it, done it for that one race, and then said, see, that's how it works. And It gives you that, like I said with Austin Dillon, you got a little bit more weight in your pocket when you make that argument. But that's my thought on it. But again, overall, Dover, I think would be a good spot. Will be, whether it is or not, we'll have to wait and see. I know this is pretty early in the season. They try to get the schedule out in September. It's not happened that way the past couple of years. So I applaud NASCAR for being on top of it. You know, they should have it out in August, September this year.
Yeah, I think so. Which race was it that we tried the windshield wipers and wet tire things on an oval?
That because it was the flat track. It wasn't Bristol. We had the All-Star race at Bristol. That wasn't at Wilkesboro, was it? Because I know that was a flatter track.
It was. I can't remember.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I think it was with North Wilkesboro. It's just a recent thing that they tried as another example of things that they tried of using the wet tire and windshield wipers at an oval, which is unheard of. Normally we think about those kind of things for road courses. So
the choose cone is another more recent one that I recall, because the first time they did that was at an all-star race. We had been hearing about it, and I actually got to witness it at a local short track, Huntsville, an asphalt track. Again, I had heard of it. I understood the concept, but to get to see it there, it definitely was a thing. I was like, hey, I've seen it. I'm all for it. And you're right. They did implement it off of that. So, again, that's an opportunity.
So things that are working well, and when they try them out there, could end up being something that we do all the time, but not necessarily. I think we had an inversion one time too. I don't think that worked out quite as well.
You know, that is one of can be good, can be bad. Of, you know, at this level, we do qualifying fast cars start up front. If you've ever been to a race of, you know, seeing a faster car come from, I mean, think about it when we've seen somebody like Carl Larson, and that's the first one that pops to my mind, has an issue, doesn't pass tech starting in the back and rip through the field. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, we like that. So I was okay with it. And I know there again, it's a matter of a little bit entertaining from that aspect, and manufacturing a little bit of guaranteed, or the thought process is guaranteeing some passing. You know, a lot of the series I work with at the dirt track, they'll do a dash where your top 6 will have a separate race to set the lineup. So it's not that you qualified fastest, you start up front. There's some good aspects to it, but it also can create some problems. Again, you get a little faster car starting behind a slower car. We saw that with the tire issue of you catch the guy in front of you faster than you think. You know, there again exhibits the driver's skill. You know, you can't just run over the guy in front of you. You got to get around him, but there's good and bad with it.
Yeah, but it's not something I would want to see at every race either.
Right, absolutely not. You're right. There again, especially at an all-star race, I was certainly okay with it there. Yes. You know, for weekly racing, yeah, maybe not so much.
So there are things that move forward with, things that they try on a one-time basis, and maybe it'll come back again for something to make it interesting. But I like the all-star race, and I like that they're going to different tracks. I applaud NASCAR for being open-minded about making some of those changes.
I will say that from the driver's side, yeah, they are absolutely not a fan of that. At the local dirt track, they have what they call a pill draw. You just get a number, and that's where you line up in your heat races. Yeah, they would much rather qualify and be set based off of speed, because, again, they feel they tear stuff up when they have to start behind some slower cars. Somebody that you know isn't going to run up front starts on the pole. Yeah, they get run over. And we've seen it like just in a cup race when somebody stays out on older tires, or, you know, stays out to try and lead laps, get a stage points or whatever. And if they're not the fastest car, they get run over either literally or in the way as the faster cars are trying to work their way through. So it can be a negative.
Hocevar, and who was the other driver? He tried 3 times to pass him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And be like, hey, let me go. So yeah, the drivers would not necessarily be a fan of that, because they say it tears up the equipment.
Okay. So you want to pick the next topic then? Are we just going down the list?
O'Reilly Auto Parts. I don't know why I've had that. Yeah, that's been in my head all day.
Yeah, the Xfinity Series is going to no longer be the Xfinity Series. It's now going to be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and I hope they just say O'Reilly Series instead of O'Reilly Auto Parts. I understand if they do, but it's a mouthful. So I thought Xfinity did a fantastic job of being an entitlement sponsor. They had the community awards that they did. They did the Dash for Cash in the Xfinity Series. They did a lot of really innovative things, and I think they were a very strong supporter of that series. I hate to see them go, but I am looking forward to having somebody else at the reins and seeing what they can do. And I know O'Reilly Auto Parts has been very interactive in the past, so I think they're probably going to do some very interesting things with the series as an entitlement sponsor. So I think it's a good thing.
I was going to say, I know you're with me of remembering when and they're still at the grassroots level. They're normally NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think they were a part of not the K&N, but certainly some of the other series And I know they were at Memphis of the Xfinity and Truck Series races when they were there. They go full bore when you talk about a sponsor being involved. I can't think of the word. What's the word? Engagement, not kickoff or whatever. And I heard an interview this afternoon with that of, they know what they're doing. They've been involved. They know the benefit of and how to go about it. So I am excited for it. Now, you're right. Xfinity Series, absolutely thrilled with them. I think every sponsor has been. Busch, Nationwide. This is what, the fourth, they said? Yeah, because it went from the Busch Series to the Nationwide Series for a few years, and then Xfinity.
Oh, yeah.
All of them have been absolutely great. But I am looking forward to, again, and especially again, even at some of the local tracks that I've been to around here, O'Reilly definitely does a fantastic job with their engagement. Activation, that's the word, sorry. I was looking for that word so hard and it just popped in there. I didn't mean to yell that out. But yeah, the activation they'll do, I look forward to it because I know what kind of a sponsor they've been at tracks and series I've been around. So I don't think they're going to miss a beat. Xfinity Series did a great job. They will be missed. I don't know what their plans is as far as like maybe still doing the Dash for Cash or Xfinity Fast Lap. They might be cutting back to just that instead of the series title entitlement. But I am looking forward to O'Reilly Auto Parts Series.
I am too. I think it's a good thing for the sport to have that kind of a change. I think, 10 years typically?
It has been in the past. I don't know that I heard a time on this one, though.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. I'm going to pull up my notes here because I want to check it. And I am going to just mention here, we've been having thunderstorms in the area here.
All right.
We lost power already once. So if I disappear, that could happen if it takes my internet down. So, and I hear thunder in the background now. So.
One thing I will say while you're looking that up, and I don't know if I can sing them both. I already did the O'Reilly Auto Parts. I will say this, with Nationwide and O'Reilly, they got a catchy tune with it. It's Nationwide on your side. Xfinity didn't really have that. Busch now does. I don't remember if they did when it was the Busch Grand Nationals, but they're Busch. So maybe that's just a me thing. I was just.
Okay, let's see. I've got something here. The story. Oh, some of these I can't see because it's subscription based. And that's one of them. So let me see if I can find something else on that.
Like I said, from everything I heard today, it was just that they were. I really don't remember hearing years with it.
Yeah, I don't think I heard anything about the years yet either. I do know it's happening.
Right.
Let's see. Yeah, is there anything more you wanted to say on that? And I'll see if I can find the
only thing I found, a multi-year partnership. This is off of J-Skis.
Yeah, everything I see says multi-year. It doesn't say.
Yep. I don't see but it was an 11-year for Xfinity, and I know that's one of those it was only 7-year for Nationwide, so not sure.
Yeah. It says this morning, NASCAR this morning will name O'Reilly Auto Parts as the 4th title sponsor in the history of its second-tier national series starting in 2026, with a switch to an endemic car industry company meant to be part of NASCAR's quest to return to its roots. So I think that's important for everybody to understand too. I think they have been a big sponsor of some of these short track races or home track races throughout the country. So the fact that they're now taking on the second tier of NASCAR, I think bodes well for the call to return to our roots.
I would have to agree because, like I said, I remember when some of the local series were the O'Reilly Auto Parts, and they were very huge in the Memphis race when Memphis was hosting NASCAR races.
Okay, mid seven-figure commitment. Let's see.
I was going to say, I was actually going to look right here. I thought I had a little O'Reilly's pad. Yep.
Xfinity had a 10-year deal originally, but extended for an additional
1 year.
season to 2025 to give NASCAR added time to find a replacement. The company remains a major sponsor of NASCAR as one of the sport's 3 premier partners and a sponsor of the 2311 racing team. Publicly traded Missouri-based O'Reilly is in need of a boost after missing analyst expectations in 5 of the last 6 fiscal quarters. Thought it met expectations. Okay, it doesn't say. I still can't find anything here about how many years. It just says multi-year.
Yeah.
So I have not seen anything that tells me exactly how many years that is expected to happen. But I do want to just show this, if I can just share the screen momentarily. And I'm sorry it's taking me a few minutes here to pull this up. Okay, so there is the logo.
Ooh, I hadn't seen the logo. Yeah, I said, I don't have one handy, but yeah, I actually have the pen and a notepad around. I have several of them around that I still have. And that Memphis race was how many years ago? Like I said, they definitely do their activation well.
Yes, they do.
I like that logo.
Yeah, and I like the green. You know, there was a time where green was not a good color.
Right. Yep. That's what there are still some drivers that adhere to some of these. I can tell you a couple different stories. Peanuts, $50 bills, the green. Those were 3 big ones. I know. And I don't know if you've ever heard that one, Sharon, the $50 bill real quick. Well, just throw that out there. When I was with the Street Stock series that I ran, we had given the drivers their envelopes with the cash in it. And when that driver opened it up, I won't give any names, threw it back at us. I mean, and the money went flying because it had a 50 in it. And they were mad, I was like, I've heard of people having these superstitions, but I didn't know that was the reaction. And it's like, what was that about? And we thought, hey, you didn't get paid what you should have for where you finished or something. No, it was because there was a $50 bill in it.
Yep.
And you can research that. There is a story as to why. I looked up the why of, again, and it goes way back to a certain driver, and I don't remember if there was a death involved, and a lot of drivers just attach that to it. So same with the peanuts. That one I don't remember if I looked up.
Yep. Well, I can see a lot of interesting tie-ins that O'Reilly can bring to that sponsorship and entitlement of that Xfinity series, with Xfinity series leaving and O'Reilly Auto Parts coming in. I think there's going to be some interesting tie-ins there.
Oh yeah, like I said again. Back in the day, it was natural. That's what you always saw was the automotive sponsors with a direct tie-in. We've had some different ones that have managed to make a good case as far as with what they did, or just wanted to be the title sponsor, I guess, but involved in the sport. But I think O'Reilly's obviously, again, is just kind of a natural tie-in, if you will.
It is. It is. Unfortunately, we also got news today that we have a driver that's retiring at the end of the 2026 season, and that is Matt Crafton. And he is leaving ThorSport Racing and the Camping World Truck Series and going into retirement at the end of this season. In 2026, Ty Majeski is anticipated to take over the number 88 at ThorSport and will be racing that truck next season. Your thoughts about that, Jay?
There was a couple of things, and Jared, who we had on early in the year, on here with us once, he's the one that sent it to me, and my first knowledge of it. Not a big shock, and I know Jared, he's a fan favorite, great guy, one of the best when it comes to the Truck Series. But if you look at the past couple years, it didn't surprise me. For whatever reason, it's been a struggle. We haven't seen him as dominant. Again, he was running, I believe, here at Richmond this past weekend, was in the top 10 until he got tangled up with his teammate Ty Majeski, ironically. And I was like, I wonder if Ty said, "Hey, fire that dude." No, just the timing of it was kind of coincidental, being that they had gotten together. As it turns out, I guess there was oil on the track. After everything got settled out, they said it was oil on the track. Because, that was one I was like, Matt Crafton don't make mistakes like that. So, like I said, there comes a time, rarely do we see any athlete in any sport truly go out at the top of their game. There have been a few, this one, again, I wouldn't say he was in a bad position where he's out there running last and in the way, but he certainly wasn't up there winning races and winning championships on that downhill slide, if you will. So, like I said, it didn't surprise me. I do hate to see it. I think he is one that represents the sport, that series especially, so well. So, if that's his decision. And again, I don't know, I didn't actually fully read any of the articles on it, but I thought it just said the full-time racing. Again, they always like to leave that door open of just in case, but full-time racing. He's leaving full-time racing. The one thing I did find kind of odd of, Ty Majeski has pretty much made his own identity in the 98 now, moving him over to the 88. I understand that is ThorSport's flagship truck, if you will. So I get that, but also, that's one of those of sometimes a change is needed of that. We've seen that in the past of different numbers or whatever. I guess that's a decision that the team made. They wanted to keep that 88 as the flagship. So.
Okay. Another thing that occurs to me, because I agree with everything that you said there, Jay, but the other thing that I think should be taken into consideration is Matt Crafton has a daughter that is getting into racing, and this allows him to spend more time helping her with her career as well. And I forget what her name is now, but I know his daughter is an up-and-coming race car driver.
Yeah, and that's one I forgot to mention when I was talking to Jared. I think that is a big part of it, honestly, of kind of like in right now, Kyle Busch talks about it with Braxton. Yes. Kevin Harvick was right in the split as he stepped away as Keelan has come up. So that may very well be, and there again, that goes back to that full-time key element of that, to be able to say, hey, she's racing here, I want to be with her. I'm not available this weekend, so let me pick and choose the races I want to be at.
Exactly. And he certainly earned that, time to be with his daughter at this stage in her career. And Matt Crafton, it's kind of a chapter for the entire series that's closing with his retirement, because Matt Crafton started with this series when the series started. When they started the NASCAR Truck Series, Matt Crafton was there. And so he's the last driver from the group that started this series to still be racing. And so with his departure and retirement, it kind of closes the chapter. We can't say our you know, somebody who's been there from the beginning any longer. So that part of it is a little bit sad for me, but I certainly respect Matt Crafton, and I know I'm going to miss him being on the track. It's kind of like a few other drivers that when they leave, you get that kind of feeling of what's it going to be like on the racetrack, not having Matt Crafton at a NASCAR Truck Series race. But I know we'll get past that, and a new era will begin.
Yeah, you mentioned it initially. I was thinking 3. I'd have to put 4 of Mike Skinner, Matt Crafton, Ron Hornaday Jr., and then Jack Sprague. I think are the 4 core that you mentioned. And again, Ron Hornaday when he left, and he's still involved as a driver coach. I'm trying to think which series he's got. Somebody he's working within, if it's the ARCA series, but
he's worked with both the Truck Series and the ARCA Menards series.
I know. There's one particular driver off the top of my head. I can't think of who it is right now, but so we see that. And like I said, I think maybe we see the same from Matt Crafton. Greg Biffle, he was just back again, got his start in the Truck Series. So I don't think Matt Crafton is one of those we'll see disappear and 5 years ago. Where are they now? I think he's still going to be around to some extent.
Yeah, I get that feeling too, that he will still be around. He's working with Landon Lewis.
There we go. I knew there. That's right, and that's one that kind of Kevin Harvick, I think, maybe represents him with KHI. That was a tie-in there with Kevin Harvick as well.
They mentioned Dawson Sutton is another driver that he works with.
Okay.
Also recently competed in the World Racing League at Charlotte Motor Speedway, teaming up with Carson Ferguson and Michael Carter. So I think he's been good, I think, as somebody who's working with up-and-coming racers.
Yeah, and like I said, Matt Crafton, too, I know at one time, I think it was before Regan Smith kind of took over that role, he was what they called the super sub. He never got the full-time ride in the Cup Series, but when they needed somebody to get them a solid run or evaluate their program, Matt Crafton had several Cup Series starts for that reason.
So I wish Matt Crafton all the best. I'm looking forward to seeing his daughter race. I hope she gets up to the NASCAR Truck Series, or even further in NASCAR, or watching her race in the ARCA Menards series even. I think it would be really great. And I'd love to see Matt Crafton race a few ARCA Menards series races.
Well, kind of like, and that goes back to think of Eric Almirola of pick and choose, whether it be Xfinity or, like you said, go back to the ARCA Menards series. That's certainly a possibility.
It sure is. Okay, where do we go next here?
If you see my head tip back, I was trying to listen to the interview on TV because this next one I was going to have you fill in. Alex Bowman claims race manipulation.
Yes.
That's what they got his interview on, but I can't hear it. I didn't hear anything about this, so fill me in on where he felt that was. Well, I can honestly say I didn't see anything I felt was, but.
Well, it was some comments that he made on his radio during the race.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Let me see if I can find it here, because again, I made some notes on this. Okay, give me a couple minutes here to find it.
I'll tell you one thing while you're doing it, and again, I'll wait and hear some of the specifics, but I know I heard this, I don't think it was this weekend, it was last weekend, being that has been a situation we've seen once or twice, and NASCAR did step in. I feel like sometimes drivers want to right away point that out and see if they can't get some favor. No, I take that back. It was during the Richmond race. Chase Elliott said, "Oh, you right reared me." Well, okay, yeah, it did happen that way, but again, it wasn't an intentional thing, and he admitted that afterwards. He said, "I understand Kyle Busch didn't know I was there, and it just happened." But I don't know if that's a thing now too. They can say, hey, I can maybe get my spot or some points if I claim that there was a race manipulation. But what you got, Sharon?
Okay, well, Jeff Gluck posted a comment by Alex Bowman in his in-car radio. It's got some not good language here, but he said his teammate is black. I'm leaving out the bad word. Blocking me now. This is race manipulation. And that was a statement directly from Alex Bowman. And then also Matt Weaver posted, and I'm going to put this up. It's about a minute or so. Let's see if I can get it at the very beginning. Hold on, let me pause it. Hold on. I want to pause it and then share it on the screen so that everybody can see this. This is from Blake Harris, the crew chief for Alex Bowman, and his comments. And let's see, I can hit. Can you see that?
No, that's awful small, but there we go. The audio's not coming through yet, though. Yeah, there's no audio with it, Sharon.
Oh, you're not getting the audio?
Nope.
Okay. I'll take that down. He's saying it now. Let me see if I can turn it up.
Yeah, the video was playing, but there was no audio with it.
Can you hear the audio now?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to listen to his post race. I guess you said that was though from the crew chief side. I was
in the radio, in-car radio.
Yeah.
Is where he was saying that, and teammates were blocking him and impeding his progress, and I think it was teammates of the race leader.
Yeah.
So I think that to me, it almost sounded like the pot calling the kettle black, if you will, because I remember William Byron last year impeding drivers.
Exactly. Well, and he was one of the ones that was involved in that. Yes.
Yes. And that being a big outcry last year. So I thought it was interesting that this time it's Bowman calling the kettle black. But what did NASCAR do about that last year? Do you remember?
Well, they did they did, and then they changed the rule book because remember that was supposedly a manufacturer deal. It wasn't just a ownership teammate. It was the Chevrolets that were setting up the blockade, and then Toyota had somebody drop back so that Bell could move forward. Was where that came in. And they did change that where they said they could penalize the manufacturer. So this is a case to me of, yeah, you're running second, trying to catch somebody. It's not happening. You got to blame somebody. We talk about that of if you're second, oh, you can't pass with this car. Well, you came through the field, didn't seem to have. It's tough to pass up front. And I'd have to go back and see exactly where. I'm not disputing that there was a teammate around him, but again, you got beat. I mean, I'm sorry. Like I said, that seems to just be there's a reason. It wasn't because I wasn't fast enough or didn't do my job. It was because of something else. Is there possibly something there? Maybe. But like I said, I just, now the one thing I will say, I think it carries a little bit more weight coming from Alex Bowman because you don't normally hear a whole lot of complaining or finger pointing when it comes to him. So I will say that. Had this been, not to use Joey Logano's name, but of somebody like that, Oh, I used his name. My bad.
That's okay. I heard
That's one of those. Yeah, when Joey's got to complain, I'm like, yeah, okay, Joey, you've done it, so you can't complain when somebody else does. Alex Bowman is not that way. He is generally, even if he gets wrecked, he's still, racing deal, blah, blah. No, you got wrecked, man. Call it like it is. You just don't hear that from him. So I would say that, that definitely carries a little bit more weight when it comes to that. So, if they want to look at it, again, I would have to see it in context of where it was at in the race, because I don't recall hearing it at that point.
At the end, because he felt that he could have contended with Austin Dillon for the win. And, right now he's on the bubble. So that win would have been huge for him. And it would more or less protect him at Daytona. So, yeah, you're right. Alex Bowman is not one to make those kind of claims. Even though I know his teammate was called out on it last year when he was blockading drivers to protect somebody, like you say, a manufacturer at the front, and NASCAR made that rule change. Now, I'm sure now that that's been brought out and everything, that NASCAR is going to look at it and make their determination based on the SMT data on whether or not that was happening. But I think it is important that NASCAR does look at that because you're supposed to be out there racing. You're not supposed to be out there blocking other drivers, at least in my mind. I think that's dirty pool, if you will, that somebody would actually block somebody from racing for a win. And I know it happens all the time. Blocking happens all the time now in NASCAR. There was a time when we didn't have as much blocking as we see now. The drivers have gotten a little bit better at blocking because it used to cause some really big wrecks. I think about Tony Stewart complaining about drivers blocking, and then he went out and blocked at Daytona and caused a 25-car pileup.
Right.
So I do think the NASCAR, it is something that NASCAR needs to look at, and the teams need to kind of monitor themselves. And I know that's asking for a lot because drivers are kind of selfish when it comes to those kind of things. But there should be no team orders. There should be no manufacturer orders as far as blocking other drivers. And actually, the drivers themselves should have more respect for one another than to be doing that as well. And I know we're in a different environment right now, but to me, it taints the series, and that's not something you want to do. It's not a good look for the sport when you have drivers that are doing those kind of things. And if you want to promote your sport, you're not going to do things that are going to taint the sport overall.
And that goes back to, and I've always voiced this of when it comes to Formula One. You got a 4-car team, you pick your champion, the other three's job is to make sure that driver is the one. Yeah, I am absolutely not a fan of that. I was happy to see that NASCAR did step in that situation last year, because I did think there were some very evident situations going on. I would have hoped that would have ended it. I get it, again, if it's a direct teammate or your manufacturer, and I know at Talladega you stick with your manufacturer or whatnot, but there is a line. You mentioned something, though, that again goes back to my original statement. Well, I got second, so I got to find a way to. Had the winner been somebody of, say, Kyle Larson, and I don't want to use him because Denny Hamlin, that wouldn't have put Bowman on the bubble now going into Daytona. Would he have been as adamant that, hey, somebody did this because he's not in as much danger going into Daytona? Versus it was Austin Dillon, that, hey, that's somebody from below the cut line. I'm in trouble now. Let's see if we can change that. I don't know. Again, it's, I'm just speculating. We'll use that, throw that word out there. Would he have been as vocal if it had been Denny Hamlin, who already had multiple wins and not affected his position when it comes to the cut line.
There is that, and it's human nature, I think, if it is his reaction to that. But knowing that it is Alex Bowman, someone that doesn't normally make those kind of claims, I give it a little more credence than if
I agree with that.
Yeah, if it was somebody else that is a constant complainer. So I do give it a little more credence there. I have not. Now, in all fairness, I have not gone back and looked at it and kind of studied it. So I still need to do that as well. But I have a lot of faith in Alex Bowman, and his reputation, I think, speaks for itself. So I have a lot of respect for him as a race car driver.
And I'm in that same boat. Like I said, and I was just listening to his post race. He just said he did reference it during the race. He was going to leave it at that. So yeah, I'd have to go back and find the spot in the race when that audio was playing, who he was around and what it looked like. But you're right. Like you said, I certainly think NASCAR should at least look at it. I don't want to see him jump the gun though. And again, being it is Alex Bowman and Hendrick Motorsports, I feel like if they do say, oh yeah, there was, and man, can you now you got my head spinning, Sharon. If they were to determine that and take another win away from Austin Dillon at Richmond.
Oh, no. No, I don't think they would do that, but I think that there might be some conversation at the next drivers' meeting
right
at Daytona about that. And I think that needs to take place anyway.
Right. Always, yeah.
It needs to take place. So I don't blame him for bringing it up. I think for all the reasons that you brought up, it does impact him directly when a new winner from below that cut line wins. And now he's vulnerable because if we get another new winner at Daytona, which is highly possible, Harrison Burton won that race last year as a new winner, it's going to push him out of the playoffs. So I understand where he's coming from. I mean, I get it. And you're trying so hard to get around these lap cars so that you can get up there and challenge the guy who's up there to win it, up there in place to win it, and you can't get around him. That's a tough position to be in.
Yeah, like I said, I'm with you. I got to go back and actually watch and find the spot and what it looked like, because I say I hadn't specifically watched it or heard it at the same time to be able. Actually, when you had it up on the list of, that's why I was like, I really didn't even know that was a thing from this past weekend. But yeah, then now all of a sudden, like I said, I got that nightmare scenario in my head where if they do determine it and were to take the win away from Austin Dillon, like. We'll be talking hot topics for years.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not anticipating that in any way, shape, or form. But I do think NASCAR is probably looking at it. And at the very least, they're going to have that conversation at Daytona and probably again throughout the playoffs about any form of race manipulation is not going to be acceptable.
So do they need to look at Tyler Reddick and Daniel Suarez?
Yes, because that was another one that came up, Daniel Suarez and Tyler Reddick. I did see that on social media today as well. Tyler Reddick was not happy with Daniel Suarez. He did lose points. He was, like 117 points to the good. He's now 89 points to the good. So he lost some traction there. I don't think he's in jeopardy at this point.
No, he is locked in, but I think Tyler Reddick did have a car that could contend because he was up there. He had been up there leading laps. I think that was the biggest thing, was they felt it did take a shot at the win away from him.
Yes, and that is frustrating when you've got a shot to go after that victory and somebody takes that away from you. And that happens in a lot of the races. Sometimes I don't think it's always intentional. I think sometimes it is just one of those racing kind of incidents. And honestly, I don't think Daniel Suarez is the kind of guy that would intentionally try to wreck somebody.
That was, if you recall the situation to when it happened, that was one of those we were talking about of an invert. Daniel was on the newer tires, caught him quicker than he expected in the corner for whatever reason, clearly got into him. Again, do I think it was anything intentional or no? It was misjudgment, just it happened. He caught him faster than he thought he was going to, or did, into the corner. And got him hard enough and in the right spot where Tyler Reddick couldn't hold the car and got into the wall. And I understand that frustration. I know we saw this with Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick a few years back. Later in the race, laps down, whatever Tyler Reddick was, when Suarez came by to pass him, Tyler did not touch him, but boy, he ran him up and didn't give him an inch against the wall and an inch between him and his car. He let him know he was not happy. NASCAR may look at that, but Tyler Reddick did not hit him.
Right. So, it's probably, tensions are high at this time of the year. And people are they get their feelings hurt very easily when they're at this stage of the season and everything's on the line now. Tyler Reddick, as you said, is locked in. Daniel Suarez is not. And if he has a chance to go out there and get a victory to guarantee a spot into the playoffs, he wants to have that chance too. But was he racing hard? Yeah, probably. On the newer tires, as you said, his car's a little bit faster. And we've heard how many drivers, this happens all the time, drivers saying, I tried several times to get by him, couldn't get by him. I had to do, I did what I did. I'm not in favor of the dump and run. To me, it's a dump and run if you wreck the guy in order to do it. I'm just not in favor of that. I know it happens unintentionally sometimes, but I am okay with the bump and run where you move the guy up the track a little bit and you get around him in order to advance your position. It's not my favorite way to do it, but I know it's just part of the racing that we have now.
And again, this was from what I saw in my judgment of it. Again, it wasn't even I've tried for a couple of corners. It was just a matter of his tires being that much quicker. A misjudgment. Could Suarez have checked up a little bit and then passed him down the straightaway? I think it would have been with ease. I think he just caught him faster than he would have expected and got him.
And you said an important thing there, checked up a little bit. And in the corners, you do check up a little bit when you're going around those corners. But I wonder sometimes, I know this happens on the restarts where people check up a little bit and the guy behind you is maybe not anticipating that and they get into each other on the restarts. And I know there's gamesmanship that sometimes goes along with that.
Now that I think back to it, it wasn't even a direct hit to Tyler Reddick. It was Daniel Suarez hit Ty Gibbs and sent him up into the track. Yeah, now that you say that, you're right. That was a bumper tag. It was Ty Gibbs that was the slow one that he caught. And you said of checking up in the corner, again, Daniel Suarez had the fresher tires. He doesn't have to check up as much because he's got the grip. He can stick it on the bottom and go in a little harder, and did. And Ty Gibbs didn't. But you're right. Now that you say that, it wasn't even a direct hit to Tyler Reddick. It was into Gibbs, and Gibbs went up and got into.
Which makes me wonder, why would he call out Daniel? Because Suarez did create, and I think that word got passed. Hey, don't be mad at Ty. Ty got hit and then hit you. But did they mention the fresher tires? Because Tyler Reddick should understand the fresher tires and what happens with fresher tires on a track.
There again, well, I can understand that. I had a car that was possibly capable of winning, and I did not get to finish the race. I don't
Yes.
care what your reason is. I had a possible winning car.
Yes.
So I understand Tyler's frustration. Now, like I said, as you're a lap down or multiple laps down, and again, he didn't hit him. He didn't Matt Kenseth him.
Yes. Well, Matt Kenseth did that as a retaliation.
That was at Martinsville, and Joey.
That was done to him. Yes.
And honestly, I understand 100% was wrong. NASCAR did the right thing and suspend him, but I didn't blame him one bit because Joey Logano I didn't blame him at all.
Yeah, because what Joey Logano did was not right either. So
that was like NASCAR's going to come down on you, but
yes. We all know how that works. But it was pretty blatant. I mean, very blatant.
And that was one where Matt didn't deny it. I say honestly, again, not saying it's right, but Matt did a great job because he took only Joey Logano out. Sometimes we see that, you spin somebody out and then Matt got Joey and pinned him in the corner, and that was the only two involved. So he did a good job with that, if you will.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, there's interesting things that happen. But these guys, I think when they take a step back, there's always that heat of the moment as well. When they take a step back and they look at it and they understand the whole picture, because a lot of times they don't have the whole picture. Although I know the spotters do try to keep them informed. So-and-so's coming up behind you. He's on newer tires, that kind of thing. They try to keep their drivers informed of those kind of things. But it'll be interesting to see if this brews.
That's one of those, like I said, and you mentioned it again, reputation-wise, Daniel Suarez is not that type of driver. He's really not. It just happened. He could have done something a little bit different. Could Ty Gibbs, if he had gotten the info of, hey, faster tires are coming, maybe taking a different line. And Ty, I don't know if his problems were starting at that point, because he had some struggles and was not the best car of his capability either for the day. But yeah, it's unfortunate the way it is. One of the things I will say at the moment, especially in the heat of the moment, you don't think it through. But have you ever been on that side? Tyler, have you ever been on that side of it where you had a good car and you made a mistake, misjudgment, whatever? Yeah, probably so. So give a little bit of grace back the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I said, he had a front-running car and didn't get to finish the race and show whether or not he could contend with Austin Dillon.
Yeah, the frustration is understandable. He wanted to contend with Austin Dillon for that victory and didn't get that chance. So I understand that side of it.
All right.
Okay, so Chase Elliott penalty for cutting the box on pit road. That commentators actually made an illustration of what they were talking about because a lot of people didn't know and what they were talking about. And Chase Elliott, I saw his interview, and Chase Elliott said it's something that's happening more and more, and he doesn't understand why it's happening as frequently as it is, but something that he needs to look at so that he can avoid it in the future. They've got these orange marks on the road that are cues for the drivers on pit road, and somehow that's what NASCAR uses when making a judgment of whether or not they have cut the box, meaning they've cut into the other driver's box at an unsafe distance. And that's what's happened. And that's what happened with Chase Elliott this weekend. And he did get penalized for it. So, it's I'm glad that the commentators and the broadcast did illustrate what they were talking about with that.
I will fully concur with that. And I understand enough to when they first said he was cut the box. Here's where the issue comes into play. because had, say, and I don't remember whose box it was that he came around, if that car isn't pitting at the time or is a lap down and not a factor, then you can go through up to 3 boxes. However, if there is a car coming in on the same pit cycle at the same time, then that's when that line comes into play and you have to give a wider berth. And with talking about Chase Elliott making the comment, this has happened more and more. Again, we're to the point where we have more cars on the lead lap. They're more competitive and closer to each other. So yeah, you have that occurring more frequently. Again, it was, we had this a couple of weeks ago where if the 2 drivers are coming in and the one that's in the front pit box is the front car, he can go through that box, get there before the other car. If he's behind that car, he has to go wider, give more room, and that's where that line comes in. And I know they were talking about that, how visible it is. You know, you said they got the orange fluorescent paint. You know, I want to say it's unfortunate that a race, Chase Elliott's race, ultimately really did depend on that mistake, and not just getting beat on the track. And I say that because with the penalty, he ended up in the back. When the accident happened, he was in the middle of it, got through it, and then something still happened with Kyle Busch. We talked about the right rear. But he was in that position because he had taken the penalty and was further back. You know, so like I said, I hate to see that of the race, you know, his race specifically determined based off of something like that in the pits and not getting beat out on the track. But it is a rule, and you're right, 100%. Because like I said, I wasn't as familiar with exactly how that penalty had occurred. With that they did a great job of illustrating it, and the technology we have nowadays to be able to show it with the cartoon car, I don't know what else to say, on where he should have been and the angle he should have come in at, and whatnot. So it's unfortunate, but like you said, he's going to have to figure out how to adapt, be more aware of, hey, this car is on the same cycle, going to be in his pit box, you need to come in. Again, I think there's multiple facets that could have prevented it, just didn't happen.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things that I know sometimes the drivers will do is they'll coordinate their pit stop with those people that are around them so that they're not pitting at the same time. That gives them a little more leeway on pit road, especially at those tracks where the pit boxes are very tight. It's a very tight pit road without a lot of, you know, space for those drivers to get through there. So, again, it's something that Chase Elliott and his organization, his team, needs to take a look at and figure out what they can be doing differently to avoid those penalties in the future. And he's not the only one. I think there's been other drivers too. But what I really appreciated in the broadcast this week is they illustrated what that is so that we all have a better idea of what cutting the box means.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And I know there again, that goes back to how competitive the series is, though. I know crew chiefs have talked about that in times past when they get pit selection they know, hey, or anticipate, let's pit around this guy because in the first couple laps, they're probably going to be in the garage or laps down, and we won't have to worry about it, and we'll have that free pit stall around us. You know, we've talked about that. How many cars are finishing on the lead lap? You just don't have that like you used to. So,
well, and in this race, I think it was 13 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race in both the Truck Series and the Cup Series.
Yeah, and that's where, again, you look at when you do qualify of who's qualified at the back, because on a short track, you know, there's a good possibility, especially if you got a fast car up front, you know, which cars are going to be that lap down early on. And that's kind of what helps you gauge anyway. Is that a guarantee? No. And as it happened, again, they were both on the lead lap at the same time, pitting at the same time. And like you said, amongst spotters, hey, are you pitting? When are you pitting? All right, we're going to hold out a lap and make sure we're not pitting with somebody in one of the 2 boxes in front of us or behind us. You know, we talk about that, about how much coordination goes on amongst spotters on top of the roof.
Yeah, back in the day, we did a little interview with Rocky Ryan, who was the spotter at the time for Jeff Burton. And he did a great job of talking about the spotter's role and how some tracks are very easy to be a spotter. Other tracks are very challenging to be a spotter. And at some tracks, you got to have more than one spotter because they can't possibly cover the entire track, like road courses or even tracks like Indianapolis. You got to have.
Yeah, and India is the one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, at different corners of the track because they don't have the vision that they need to have to be able to advise their driver. So, and he talked about how much coordination goes on up there on the spotter stand where he's walking down and talking to another spotter and they're negotiating with that spotter, for different positions on the track with different teams and trying to work things out up there. And so they're a mediator, they're the water on the fire when the driver's getting a little bit too excited. They're trained in how to calm their driver down and keep them focused on the right things during the race. So the spotter is a very important role there. And I think maybe the spotter could have helped him too, as a reminder of don't cut the box.
Right. Yeah, like I said, if at least said, hey, there's a guy coming with you, Or
I've even heard them say, just a reminder, keep an eye on your speed, don't go speed. So the spotters play a role when it comes to those kind of things. So I think the spotter can be involved in this type of thing as well in helping the driver avoid that kind of penalty. Just as a reminder in the year.
Well, lesson learned, and I would have to one more time echo what you said of the broadcast did an excellent job of breaking it down and explaining it and showing it. Even myself as an avid fan of, I don't know all the details and all the things when it comes to that. That was one I had an idea, but explained it even further without a doubt.
Exactly. That was the same for me. I had an idea of what they were talking about, but when they gave the illustration, I'm like, okay. So the drivers do have cues out there that can help avoid that. So that was pretty cool. So, and they've got their mind on so many different things too. And that's why I bring up the spotter as being that reminder in your ear, if you will.
Right. Yeah. They're watching their pit road. They're trying to make sure they get the right distance away. And then they got the corner, the yellow. I think that one's in yellow of where they want the right front tire into that corner so they don't cross the front line. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So I think we made it through our list. Did we miss anything, Jay?
No. If we got a couple minutes, I got a really interesting one, though, I had sent kind of later in the day. I don't know if you saw Stuart Friesen in the Truck Series and the waiver.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's not requested a waiver, though, has he?
He declined it. And I'll run through it here because I have a different perspective. And I wanted to get I forgot Chris wasn't going to be on tonight. Kind of curious as to his thought. Maybe come back to this one. But so Stuart Friesen got a win, is in the playoffs, is involved in an accident and is modified, is not going to be back this year. He could have still applied for a waiver. And my thought was, why would you if you know you're not coming back this year? And it was laid out today. He has declined. He is not going to, and I applaud him. Yes. And I say this. It would have put NASCAR in a difficult situation as to whether or not they would give the waiver or not. And I can only imagine the fan outcry, whether you're a fan of his or not, one way or the other. If Stewart were to have still been in the truck and started the playoffs, finished last in 3 races, and been eliminated, he would get paid as the 10th place driver, right?
I see.
So he earned that spot. He got his win. He applies for the waiver, even though he knows he's not going to. he technically should still get at least 10th place finish in the playoffs. And I know it's not as big at the Truck Series versus the Cup Series, but he is now going to end up 20 something probably in points.
Right.
I actually, and I would have, like I said, I would have felt bad for NASCAR being put in that position of, do we give a waiver to a driver we know isn't going to be, but realistically did it at least earn that 10th place? Like I said, I applaud Stuart Friesen by saying, I'm not going to be out there driving. I'm not going to request it. I think he at least had the right to apply for it and put it in NASCAR's hands. Because like I said, he got a win. Even if he finished last in the next 5 races, would have gotten 10th place. Now he's going to get, like I said, possibly, I don't know where he's at, but and that pay difference is big. So like I said, he basically forfeited that, or didn't at least put it in NASCAR's hands. So what's your thought on that, of if he had applied for it?
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, he had the right to apply for it, and NASCAR acknowledged that as well. But I think he did the right thing. And he knew there was no way he was going to be able to contend. And so he declined that waiver. Did he have the right to go for it? Absolutely. I'm kind of glad that he didn't go for the waiver. I just think it would have been a sticky situation had he done that. I think everybody would have understood it. I think by also declining the waiver, he opened the door for somebody else to make it into the playoffs. You know, maybe Jake Garcia would not have been in the playoffs had Stuart Friesen applied for that waiver. So to me, that just shows a lot of respect for his fellow competitors as well. And so I think he did the right thing. I agree with you, he had the right to do it. It would have put NASCAR in a very sticky situation. And, you know, maybe at some other point in time, we'll see that play out. I hope not with another driver being totally injured as badly as
Right.
Reason was. But I think he did the right thing.
You know, when we talked about this last week of that possibility, knowing he had, and technically he had up until the race next week at Darlington prior to this first start of the playoffs, we were thinking it had to be before this last race. Larry McReynolds said technically he had up until the first race of Darlington. Yeah, the first race of the playoffs. I hadn't really thought about it from the other perspective, though, of, like I said, by winning a race and being eligible, and he was in a position he was still eligible, and would have been. Yeah, I mean, he's at least at a minimum would have earned 10th place. I'm kind of curious how NASCAR would have ruled it, knowing that he's not driving in any of the races, but had earned at least 10th place by getting that win early in the season. I'm with you. Huge applause to him for going it. You know, back when Kurt Busch, we saw this in the Cup Series, there it was a debate, and again, I guess the same situation, because he might have still been to earn it as far as 16th. Kurt's was a situation of he may or may not come back. Here we know Stewart wasn't going to come back. So in my mind, it was like, no, he's got no right to. But like I said, technically, he deserves 10th place payout. I mean, because he had a win. Even if he finishes dead last in all the races, he would have gotten 10th. I applaud him of making that decision. I don't know if I'd have been able to. Like I said, I think I might have had to actually put it in NASCAR's hand.
Well, let me ask you this. Should NASCAR tweak the rule on that?
And that was something else I don't know if there's some way they can reward him. I mean, honestly, of that. Yeah, I don't have any kind of a possible tweak to make that. Yeah, to compensate or whatever of, hey, we know you can't finish this season, but you were eligible and should have gotten 10th. Yeah, I don't know.
Or it could go the other way, Jay. It could be, if you have an accident that incapacitates you for the remainder of the season, you are no longer playoff eligible.
Well, and they already have that, because that technically is the waiver of you. The rule is you got to be there and qualify or attempt to qualify for every race. So they have their out there. Yeah, like I said, in this case, though, after that got pointed out, or I understood it better today, that, yeah, realistically, he should have been guaranteed 10th place at the minimum. I guess I admire him. I really do. Like I said, because I think I would have had to have at least put it in NASCAR's hand. If they said no, okay, I get it. But I think I would have had to put it in their hands. I don't know if I could have stood up and taken myself out knowing that I should have been guaranteed at least 10.
Right. And I'm going to bring up something else too. I saw something else today too. Who was it that filled in for, Kyle Larson filled in for Connor Zilisch when Connor Zilisch was out because of his back injury after Talladega. Somebody was saying that was a fake accident to allow Kyle Larson to come into that car and get it set up for him to win races. And
you weren't on Reddit, were you?
Well, maybe that's what I was on Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That sounds like a Reddit comment, though.
Right. Yeah.
Conspiracy theory. And I saw that and I thought, what?
I'm taking nothing away from Kyle Larson, but guess what? Connor Zilisch don't need Kyle Larson's help.
I would agree with you. And all the drivers they could have come up with that conspiracy for, Connor Zilisch does not need anybody to put up his cars. He knows how to set up his own cars. He knows how to win races. And by the way, Kyle Larson has not done anything lately in his own car. So,
wow.
And I'm not, and I don't know. I haven't figured out yet if he is testing different things and that's why, or if he's resting up to getting ready for the playoffs. My thought process is that he's going to come alive during the playoffs again. We're going to see him winning races again. And
yeah, that's one of those. I'm with you. I don't understand it. And I know everybody, statistically wise, it does go back to from Indianapolis on. Do I think it had anything to do with him not doing well in the Indy 500? No, I don't. Again, just seeing him go out, get in a dirt car and do this. And yeah, he is this race, it's done, I'm moving on type driver. He really, and that goes with feuds. We've talked about it, results, good finish, bad finish. Hey, you won last week. How do you feel? I got to race this race. I haven't won this race yet. I mean, that's it. He's that type of driver.
Right. So we'll see if he does come alive though in the playoffs. But yeah, just another one that I saw today, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts about it. But I think you were kind of in the same line as I was.
Well, and honestly, and I think of more of like William Sawalich as he goes back to the ARCA Menards series, wins a race or runs good, giving him confidence. Okay, Kyle Larson's not doing well on the Cup side. You put him in Xfinity, he does good. That gives him Again, Kyle Larson don't need that either. Like I said, he'll have a bad 2-3 bad races. He's going to say, I'm here to win this one, period,
Right.
And he did, what did he start? 30th, finished 6th. And I know he had some hiccups.
This week, yeah.
Yeah. That is one thing, because I think he was one that was involved with something. And off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember what it was. But I think we saw a lot of that this weekend of top teams or contending teams making mistakes. Christopher Bell, you're talking about clipping the box, the penalty for the pit road cone. It's now a painted box. There's no cone there, but several drivers that experienced that of just mistakes. on pit road. Chase Elliott, we mentioned, then being involved in the wreck. So, yeah, I think there were a lot of teams that kind of hurt themselves this weekend for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There were a lot of pit road mistakes. And one of the things that we talk about all the time is the true sign of a champion is that they overcome those obstacles and still make something out of their day. And that's one of the things that I really loved about Martin Truex Jr. He could take a beat up, banged up car and still get a top 5 finish out of it.
Yep.
Or at least a top 10 finish most of the time. So, and they were a team that could overcome adversity and still get a good finish at the end of the day. And that's what there's another thing that came out on social media today. Mamba Smith made a comment, and he's taken a lot of flack for it, but I think he's telling people the way it is. Okay, wait a second. I just saw this. Adam Stern says, President Steve O'Donnell on if O'Reilly Auto Parts will have a new catchphrase incentive program for drivers next year, like Xfinity's fast as Xfinity internet line. Xfinity did a great job with that, and we've certainly passed that along to O'Reilly. He said, it's interesting. Xfinity did a great job with that, and we're certainly passed it along to O'Reilly in terms of what we can do with drivers in the industry. So not sure yet exactly how that will look and feel, but certainly something to build on there.
Gotcha.
Okay, now going back to what I was looking at here with regard to a comment that Mamba Smith, they're talking about the championship. And I think this one kind of puts it together the best. Mamba Smith says, the point isn't to crown the best driver, it's to crown the best team who executed the best when the pressure was at its highest and the lights were the brightest. And I think there's some truth to that.
No, I wouldn't.
And so the hot take from another person was, hot take, the best team player in any sport isn't always going to be the champion, and that's okay. Most years, the best team in the NFL, NBA, and MLB don't win, and we're all okay with it because that's what we grew up knowing it to be. Most people who hate the playoffs actually hate that the sport isn't the same as when Earnhardt won. So you're right. It's about the change. I think that illustrates it the best. But there were a lot of people, he took a lot of flack for that, by the way. A lot of people calling him out. And another comment he's made is that, I mean, honestly, this system creates excitement. Does it poo-poo on the best team and driver of that year? Sometimes, yep, it does. But that's what playoffs do. It makes it so you don't need to be the best, just the best in that event. I personally love it. But you've got to have some wins along the way, and you've got to be a contender along the way to be there to contend for it at the end.
And I look at, and I'll go to the NFL and the New England Patriots, 18-0, go to the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl. They were 18-1 that year. You know, like you said, it's on that bright stage, under the pressure. And a team execution. It's not about Tom Brady. Yes, he leads the team, but It's not about one. In the case of that year, the Giants had a couple of players. Odell Beckham stepped up, when you talk about NASCAR, again, you can have the best driver, the fastest car. You make a mistake on pit road. Ty Majeski, something happens, a teammate takes him out, because oil on the track. Again, it wasn't the teammate's fault, Matt Crafton's fault. But that's all part of it. I will say this because, again, and Moody laughed at me, but I said theoretically, in a season, you could win 35 of 36 races and finish second and still not be the champion. Under the format, is that ever going to happen? No.
Realistic? No.
But It is. You could win those first 35 races and finish second, be in the championship floor and finish second if whoever finished first and got that final win. Again, is that ever going to happen? No. If it ever does, I promise you something gets changed then. And I'd be all for it. First off, I'd be a millionaire because I'd have that bet down. But no, like I said, does that happen? Yeah. I mean, honestly, but that's part of it. When I hear,
go ahead.
What's that? Okay.
No,
when I hear other fans talk about that they accept it in other sports, break it down. Just in recent years, baseball has changed how long the pitcher can have between pitches. When you go to extra innings, they put a man on second after the first. Basketball, 3-point line wasn't in existence, and I don't remember the years. I'm not a big basketball fan. But that wasn't always in existence. The shot clock wasn't always in existence. There have been other changes. I don't see why NASCAR fans are rebelling against the change like other sports have accepted.
Right. And how many times have we seen in other sports the number one seed going in doesn't always make it to the championship race?
Yep.
It happens over and over and over again. Does it happen every year? No, it doesn't necessarily happen every year, but it happens in different sports. And NASCAR is no exception to that. And I think there is something to be said about being able to handle the pressure of the sport. And that's what the playoffs does create. So again, your NASCAR's top tier. This is the best of the best. And they're competing head to head with all the pressure. And yeah, mistakes are going to happen. They happen in football. They happen in basketball. They happen everywhere. Sometimes you have a good day. Sometimes you have a really bad day, and your bad day happens at the most inopportune time and takes you out of it. So NASCAR is no different. It's how do you deal with that pressure as a top tier team in the top tier of NASCAR to get yourself to that final race. And maybe your bad day happens at Homestead, Miami. It happens. It's the way the playoffs work in any sport, not just NASCAR.
The only aspect of that, and I got something for both sides of it. One, when you look at it, most sports, that's why they have a series, whether it be a 3-game, 5-game, 7-game. So it's not all about one game. The exception is this. But the championship, football is the only one where it's a one-shot deal of the Super Bowl. And again, even with the Patriots loss that year, I didn't hear people saying, well, it should be more than one game. Yeah, no, you don't hear that. So why are we in NASCAR? However, there you're talking about a one-on-one, one team against one team. In the championship here, you got your 4 championship contenders. I think I've used this before. If you're talking about the Super Bowl, say the Patriots, I'll go back to the Patriots and the Giants. In one there, to compare it to NASCAR, it would be somebody from the Redskins all of a sudden comes out of the stands and makes the interception and causes a problem, because that's a team that's not in the playoffs but affected your game. That's why I do think NASCAR should look at possibly making it a 3-race deal. Am I unhappy and against who we've had as champions because it's been a 1-race shot? No. Who was it? A couple of years of Christopher Bell. Broken axle early in the Phoenix race. Had no shot at it. Yeah, that's a heartbreak because, again, and that was a parts failure that you can't control. I get it. It's that way, been that way all year. It could have happened. You shouldn't even been in the playoffs because of it. I'm in favor of them making it 3-race, but I'm also not going to get on any platform and scream, hey, they're not a real champion because it was a 1-race, one-shot deal. Again, I've been happy with it.
Yeah, you've mentioned something that I've been thinking about too, is that the championship round, there should be a championship round like there is a round for all the other stages of the playoffs, where the drivers compete head to head for those 3 races. And maybe they eliminate maybe after the first race of the championship round, you eliminate one driver. After the second race of the championship round, you eliminate another driver, and then it's head-to-head 2 drivers in that championship race.
I wouldn't be totally against that either, honestly. Of that, I know somebody brought up do you want to see the championship as we saw the in-season challenge bracket? No, not at all. Again, not in our format of racing where you have so many other variables. Basketball, I get it. Your team against their team, move on. Or any other individual sport. But when you have 30 some other competitors that are still looking for that race win, I am absolutely not in favor of that. Was it great for that stretch of the season, those 5 races? Thrilling. And I wanted to see the number 32 seed kind of win it at that point of Ty Dillon. But for the championship, absolutely not.
I agree with you. I hope they don't.
I would be on Reddit and complaining then.
But, I could see them doing it 3 races, and it wouldn't have to be necessarily the way I said. Maybe it's those 4 drivers competing over the 3 races, and they take the best average.
That's where I said, if then you're saying, okay, you do have it narrowed down to 4, give them a 3-race shootout in case a parts failure or a situation outside of their control. Who's the best over 3 races, not just 1. And that would take away, again, we've heard it, so-and-so's good at Phoenix, so-and-so's good at Homestead. Yes. Or, that would take that away from it. And they keep saying, hey, it's about consistency all year, not winning 1 race in July or whatever and then getting into the playoffs. I think that would take some of that conversation away.
Well, and I do think it would possibly change the regular season if you take and add 2 more races into the playoffs for that championship round. Now you're talking about 24 race regular season before the playoffs begin, and then you're talking about 12?
You wouldn't necessarily even have to do that. You would just bump up the eliminations instead of only eliminating 3 in the first round or 4 in the first round, eliminate 5, and to get it down to 4 by the final 3 races.
That's another way they could make that happen.
Yeah.
There's
a couple different ways they could do it.
Okay. Anything else that's on your mind that we need to put out on the table here, Jay?
Not as far as NASCAR hot topics, no. But if you're giving me that opportunity, I'll stand by my man Chris. Speaking of people getting on social media as an announcer, did he mispronounce some things, say the wrong town, whatever? Nobody's perfect, man. Give a guy a break.
I saw him post some things on social media, and it sounds like that Southern Street Stock Series was an outstanding success. And I'm real happy for him. He said all the races were really great, a lot of participation, and kudos to Chris Crichton and that whole group.
Absolutely.
Stock Nationals, Southern Street Stock Nationals.
It was one of those it certainly is an event, and again, it draws 100 and some cars. I think they did start 39. That caught me off guard this year. I think they started 39.
Wow.
Had a little bit of weather issue for I think it was Thursday nights. Again, Rodney Wing, the House of Hook staff. Tim Dees is one of them I know that works for him. I can't give everybody's name. I don't know them all, but that too. They battled through that adversity, got it in. I know Shay Knight gave a big shout out for that they could have at some point thrown the towel in. They didn't. They made sure everybody got their fair shot. Just like any other event, there's some bent fenders and hurt feelings. There always is. But everybody appreciates it. It really is such a huge event. And it was an excellent show this year, without a doubt.
And speaking of that, Jay, I noticed that there were quite a few winners over the weekend. Kenny Wallace won out at Charleston, Illinois, over the weekend. So that was a big win for him. Keelan Harvick won the Cars Tour West over Kevin Harvick at Colorado National
I
Speedway.
think he's 0 for 2 now.
Yes. And then this name, do you remember the name Ty Frederickson?
You know, that one rang a bell.
He
God.
ran in the ARCA Menards Series this
Okay.
year.
Yep.
He's 16-year-old, and in his 16th ASA Midwest Tour start, Ty Frederickson gets his first tour win in the Wayne Carter Classic 100
Okay.
Grundy County Speedway. Ricky Baker was second and Gabe Summers third, and there's more to come. There were quite a few here that I wanted to point out. Okay, this was cool too. One of Dillon's mechanics gives the confetti-covered windshield tear-off to some fans out at Richmond this weekend too.
Oh, that's cool.
And just some shout outs that I saw on social media today. Did you see Dave Burns' segment where he did a pit stop?
Yeah, I did. Where they were talking about. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. And, you know, it makes you realize what these guys do. They make it look so, I don't want to say effortless. I know there's a lot of effort there, but they do it so smoothly that you don't realize how difficult it really is.
That's one of those, if you ever go to a NASCAR race, I think it was Toyota that had it, the pit stop challenge, that they have that where you can go through and do a tire change or whatever. Yeah, that ain't no joke. It ain't no joke.
That ain't no joke is exactly right. Anyway, there were a lot of really great winners this weekend. I'm going to look in my email box because I think I saw some others. Those are ones that I picked up off of social media.
For NASCAR fans that would remember of when we have dirt track races, Superman Jonathan Davenport picked up the topless 100 at Batesville, Arkansas. I saw that one.
Okay, so that was a good one.
Trying to think what I saw in Ken Schrader's. I didn't see Kenny Wallace's. Ken Schrader had that dude's still racing multiple times in a month.
Casey Mears is going to be at Daytona in the Cup race.
I already looked at the entry list, yes, for Daytona on that. You're right. Yeah. I believe he's in the number 66 car. I remembered he had one coming. I couldn't remember where and when it was, though.
Yeah, there's just, and I've got a lot of emails here to kind of weed through, but I just saw a lot of different winners from this weekend of racing. And coming up on Wednesday is the ASA Stars Tour race. So you'll want to get over on Flow Racing and catch that this weekend as well. Yeah, star-studded field set, the full entry list. Cole Butcher, I know, is going to be in that race. And I'm having a problem with one of my browsers. Cole Butcher will look at another major win to his resume. Bubba Pollard, Stephen Nasse, Derek Thorne will bring their expertise to Michigan. West Coast standouts, Cole Raz, Casey Klein, will look to take on Canadian young guns Kyle Steckley and Chase Pincinel. So Johnny Sauter, Derek Kraus, Gabe Summers, from Illinois, Austin Nason. And let's see, also features a rookie class, Gavin Bushell, George Phillips, Carson Brown, Ty Frederickson, Dawson Sutton, Michigan's own Blake Rowe, Stephen Ullman, Will Shahutsky, Albert Francis, Gabriel Grigsby. I mean, they've just got all kinds of people entering this race. And I think it's going to be outstanding. August 20th will be the street stocks, adding a local flair to a night filled with racing's rising stars and established talent. So
that almost sounded like the entry list for the Snowball Derby.
Yeah, really. It'll be at Owasso, Michigan, and for the Michigan 300 at Owasso Speedway. So coming up on Wednesday night, you'll definitely want to check that out.
That's one. If you're a race fan this time of year, especially in the Midwest and northern states, they're going to start having some big shows because they've got to wrap up their season a little early, based on the weather and seasons up there. So August, September, you're going to see a lot of that. Of like I said, right now, the Midwest and northern states a lot more so than the South. We can go into October. I know here at the Mag they run Thanksgiving weekend, the Possum Town, but. Yeah, up north, you got to get them in early.
Okay, that is true. That is true. So anyway, Jay, thank you so much for being here on Hot Topic Sound Off with me. Any shout outs you want to do before we sign off here?
No, like I said, I just wanted to with Chris. And I know prior to the weekend, I was giving him a hard time of being wimpy and not being on here tonight after the weekend. But yeah, I fully understand it. Again, was just messing with him. Like you said,
Chris. We do miss Chris.
Definitely. And there are some, believe it or not, I want his input on a couple of the topics. I might have to get with him again down the road on that. But like you said, a big shout out for the successful weekend they had, and he deserves the day off.
And do watch for more coming out here on Fan4Racing Radio. We put out all the reviews from the 3 races, 2 at Richmond and 1 at the Springfield Mile on dirt. So those are all out. Also, later on this week, Jay and I will be previewing 2 Daytona races for this upcoming weekend. The Cup Series regular season finale happens at Daytona, and so that's going to be exciting. And then the ARCA Menards Series is racing up in Madison, Wisconsin this weekend. So we'll be talking about that race. And on Friday, Taz and I will be doing our fantasy report to help everybody with their fantasy picks for the NASCAR Cup Series at Daytona this weekend. So you'll want to stay tuned for that as well. And of course, on the other side of the weekend, we'll be back again to do it all over again with the reviews and previews and maybe some interviews. I don't know yet, but also our Hot Topic Sound Off on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I did notice we had a steady stream of viewers tonight. We appreciate everybody for taking the time to hear our Hot Topic Sound Off segment. And we really encourage you to post your comments, if not in the live stream, at least in the comment section during the replays. Feel free to post your thoughts about some of the hot topics that we discuss. We like to get everybody's take. We know not everybody agrees with what we have to say, Jay, and that's okay. As long as you're respectful and state your case, we're okay with you giving your thoughts, and even if they don't agree with ours. So feel free to comment. So with that, Jay, are you going to be at the track this weekend?
I am actually. We got one more weekly show coming up this Saturday before we go into our big special Labor Day weekend, the All-American, which will also include the rescheduled Hot Shot Shootout. So this week, like I said, weekly racing, I will be at your Capital City Raceway in Jackson. Hopefully, again, barring that nasty R word, we will be there.
Well, part of our Fan4Racing crew, we've got 2 race announcers and 1 flagman as part of our Fan4Racing crew this year. So that's kind of cool. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We do appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're listening to the live stream or the broadcast afterwards as the podcast. We appreciate your time, taking the time to hear what we have to say. We enjoy doing it. We hope you enjoy listening. So with that, Jay, I think we're ready to say thank you from your side.
Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. I know Sharon hit it, and I know we're up to, I think, 79 subscribers now. Yes. See that continuing to build. Again, as Sharon said, we enjoy doing it. We hope you enjoy it. Had multiple viewers tonight. I know we didn't get any comments, but hopefully we do down the road.
Well, hopefully All Sports All Day will be back when Chris is back.
Yeah, that was that might be one that was I don't know, because they weren't on last week either, so might have had a shift in work schedule too.
Yeah, I think something might have come up because I think he had intended to be here, but hopefully he'll be back next week, and we'll look forward to talking with him as well. So take care, everybody. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you later on during the week. Good night.
Good night.